Also, our senior reporter, Sophia Wanuna, yesterday had an exclusive interview with the Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia on the BRTs. I want us to take a look at what he had to say about a number of things, as well as a quick reaction from Simon Kimutai, the chairperson of the Matatu Owners Association.
So in a very short time, which is about maybe a month or two, there will be about 150 buses on those special lanes. And so we don't want to bring every PSV on that lane, otherwise it will defeat the whole purpose. So this special lane will be for those high-capacity buses, but also allow emergencies like ambulances, fire agents and so forth. So initially it will be dedicated for those three sort of groups.
Kitu mimi ningependa kuambia Bwana President, industry ya matatu sio kidogo. Na sisi pia tunapenda competition. Lakini kitu angetusaidia kufanya, angefanya level yetu ya competition ikuwe equal to each other. Because I know the NYS issue is about another scandal to come for future. Number one, NYS mafuta yao ni 43 shillings. Yetu ni 1 something. NYS, they don't pay insurance. We are paying insurance. NYS are not paying the TLBs, RSL from NTSA. We are paying.
Well, some of the reactions there from Matatu owners and operators on this latest introduction of the bus rapid transit system that, of course, dedicated express lanes for them in various roads in the country, meant to decongest the roads in the city especially. I want us now to get into a discussion with Dickson Mbugua. He's the chairperson of the Matatu Welfare Association. A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for making time for us here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we've seen quite a reaction there from one of those from the Matatu Owners Association, from where you sit as the chairperson of the Matatu Welfare Association. What is your reaction to this bus transit system?
Thank you very much. I have 5 very key important points to make here. Now, number one, the government should not have shied off from really constructing, putting in place proper BRT infrastructure, like it has happened in Dar es Salaam, in Bogota in Colombia, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and Singapore. Yeah, set some funding to construct proper BRT what you call infrastructure, whereby it's exclusive for the BRT buses, the big buses.
Yeah.
And then the cabin size is raised so that no any other vehicle can really climb on top and then take advantage of the expressways. Yeah, that's point number one. The way they have done here, it's okay for the trial, but then it's going to face a lot of challenges. Challenge number one, they have clearly marked those roads. What will prevent other motorists really coming and driving on that? Yeah. Because there are no barriers. Yeah? Now, number two, you have already secured one inner lane. Yeah. Currently, the traffic jams in Thika Superhighway starts from GSU. Now, having blocked one lane, I can assure you that jam will go up to KU or beyond. Yeah, because one road is already blocked up. The other point, you are now creating an avenue for our traffic officers really to harass motorists. Those who will attempt really to drive along that, what you call dedicated lane. Yeah. Yeah, because Kenyans, not only matatus, even personal vehicles, as you drive along our roads, some of them would want to really to be smart and try to subdue the queue so that they can get to town and other places faster. Now, that's an avenue for police to make money. Yeah. The other thing, of course, is the introduction of the NYS buses. These buses are duty-free. They don't pay any taxes at all, name it. They are not compliant to NTSA requirements, as some of us do. Yeah. They are the matatus and the bigger buses. We are subjected to all of the requirements, rules, and regulation, and helter-skelter, and you can imagine. Them, they are not. The other thing is, of course, the staff are paid by the government. They are the government's payroll. Yeah, these buses can charge even 5 shillings because their input is very, 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 very minimal. Yeah, of course. And then the other thing is that let them evoke BRT proper system, whereby all the 14-seaters, because in the future those will not be operating, all the 14 seaters affected in the CBD of Nairobi have got to be, data has got to be taken so that you know how many there are. And then a government that cares for their investors, that low, smaller units investors, would want to compensate them and buy them off. Yes? They go to do other business.
So from what you say
Yes.
is, from what I gather, is you think it is a good idea, but not yet.
Not yet. The time for it, not yet. First of all, construct the road, PRT. Then think how we are going to procure the rolling stock. This is the buses. Then, of course, you need to buy the smaller units because you can't just send them home like that. Yeah, they're employing so many people. And by the way, do you know the PSV sector in this country, across the country, employs more than 1 million personnel? Yeah, that's the drivers, the owners, the conductors, the other staff, support staff in the circles, and so forth. Over 1 million people.
Okay.
Now, when I say buying off, really is compensation. Yeah. So those that would want to continue, they pool their resources, either 5 of them or 8, and then put a deposit for the bigger buses. The bigger buses, the kind of that will be coming to operate on that, are very expensive. The 8-seater that is standing and seated is 11 million. Yes. The one you see articulated, yeah, that is 18 million.
Yeah.
It's not small money. So it's an issue that needs to be looked at very closely, and then the priority should be given to the current stakeholders, those who would want to continue that business, so that at least they can, pool their resources and then place so that they can be on the line to be given or to be assigned the high.
I want us to take a look at what the Cabinet Secretary had to say about why he thinks this really will help decongest our roads. Then we get back to the conversation here with Dickson Mbugua, who is the chairperson of the Matatu Welfare Association.
Where we are starting this process at Kasarani, we are going to create a very big parking. So you, if you live that side, you go and park your vehicle with your family, and you jump into this bus, which is very civilized, very express. It's going to take a fraction of the time which you normally take with your vehicle. So there's no reason of having all these small vehicles, clogging up the city.
Well, CS James Macharia there for transport. One of the things he said, we haven't really prolonged that particular interview, that there will be designated places for parking where residents will, with private vehicles, will park their vehicles, then board these buses all the way to town. So if one bus has, say, 100 people, that in essence might be like, what, 80 cars off the road? How viable do you think this is?
It is viable. That's what we call park and ride system.
Yes.
Whereby the smaller motorists would really park in a designated parking area and then board the PSV, those buses to town, and then back again in the evening. Now, but our concern here is how many of the current stakeholders, those who have invested in these buses, the 3-seater, the 41-seater, the 51-seater, because 4 years down the line, we were given instruction, the kind of understanding that we need to move from the smaller units and then buy the high occupancy vehicles. Intensively 33-seater, 41 and 51. And they have been bought. Currently, we have even the KCPs. Next week, you'll find that KCQ comes on the road. Now, these buses will not have really finished paying their loans with the banks, commercial banks, and financial institutions. However, they can still operate alongside the high capacity BRT buses, but it on a very clear and very understanding kind of system, such that before anything else, my advice to the Cabinet Secretary is that call for a public participation meeting, forum, first with the stakeholders, so that you can sell that idea. But the way it's coming up is just like an ambush.
Are you saying
that
there has been no consultation with some of associations like the Matatu Welfare Association that have been players in this particular field for a while?
No, there has been consulted. I'm not saying that we have not been consulted. We have, in fact, we have had about 3 or 4 series of the meeting. But ideally, you should have a public participation. Yeah, not only with the institution leaders. Should call a a bigger meeting so that at least they are explained how this is going to work and how they are going to what's their role in this, so that they also have an opportunity to pose some questions. The second, public participation with the commuters, because you cannot just not everyone commuter or citizen read the newspaper. Not everyone watches the news on the screens. Yes, but there should be an interaction kind of a meeting.
Yeah.
Once that is done, now you can fully roll out that program. But then the other thing is, it should not be rushed. Yes, we don't want this thing rushed like they trying to rush the cash light. You remember dragging the president from State House all the way to the CBD ostensibly that the cash light mode of fare collection is working, and on the ground there was nothing. Let's work these things on a gradual kind of a manner so that at least we deliver a fully fledged BRT system that really will win everybody and is going to be a win-win situation both to the investor of the PSVs and the government and the commuter.
The CS has encouraged those from the private sector to now invest in the BRT, saying they would like about 50 buses to come from the private sector. Is this something we will be seeing those from who have been operating PSVs venture into?
I said earlier on, that's a welcome move. Yeah, in our mind, possibly I think that the government should create some kind of seed fund so that at least those who want to continue with that kind of mode of transport really could be assisted. Because I earlier mentioned that the cost of this bus is not a small money.
Yes.
11 million and 18 million. And don't forget that is some duties that have been waived. And it is not something that any operator or investor can access to. They need to be assisted with seed fund, and of course the deposit is lowered maybe to 10 or 20%. And then the other thing is, of course, give a kind of a long-term kind of road service license, so that at least this also can be floated the financial institutions, so that they be guaranteed that their loans will be paid, because the operation period is prolonged. Yes.
All right, let's take a look at what something else the CS for Transport said in that interview yesterday evening with our reporter, Sophia Nuna.
But what you want the Matatus owners to do is to make sure they charge a fair and affordable fee for the passengers. And we believe, for example, from Githurai to the city is about 40 bob, not more than that. So it's not about exploitation of the Mwananchi. Or, competition will always be there, but they must make sure they adopt a system which is not exploitative to the Mwananchi.
All right, he talks about exploitation and says that for a while now, the PSVs, especially the Matatus, have been exploiting Kenyans, especially in terms of fare. What do you think?
The fare issue is a big debate, and bearing in mind we are operating in a liberalized economy. Point number one, we should deploy the services of an actuarist, that will be able to compare the consumables that we put into operating these vehicles vis-a-vis the commuters' affordability, so that we can come with at least a benchmark kind of moderate fare. Now, the operators now can build on that. Yes, that will be the minimum. So far in this country, for the last close to 3 decades, there has been no what we call a moderate fare by either NTSA and their predecessor, that was TRB. Yeah, the fares you see, the 20 bob. 20 bob, because I'm in this sector for 40 years. 20 bob fare started 1990. I can assure you and guarantee you, it started 1990. That's when we started now upscaling our fare from 10 shillings to 20 shillings. You can imagine, 1990, that's 28 years ago. Yeah, certainly, and the prices of other commodities, the fuel, the lubricants, and so forth, has kept on going up. Yes, currently every month we must be briefed. Data comes from Energy Regulatory Commission, either lowering the prices of fuel or upscaling it depending on the market, dynamics and what have you. So we need really to deploy the services of accurists or those experts, economics experts that will dwell in on what kind of moderate fare do we need in this country? Yes, for long distant services and for urban town services. But the BRT is good because of the urban mobility. But for heaven's sake, let us put in proper approach on this BRT so that at least we're able to succeed and for a long time come up with a project that's long term and that will give services, deserve services to everybody. But if we are going to rush this, I can assure you it's going to, I don't want to say flopping, but it's going to bring a lot of challenges.
If this works out, what would it mean for the matatu business in the country, and what would it mean essentially for the transport industry in the country?
What we are saying, there's likelihood of some people losing their jobs, particularly the group that I've just talked about, the 14 smaller units. Those crew, their jobs at a risk, and that needs to be looked into very critical. That's why I say we need to look if how can they be compensated so that at least they don't go home chuckled out empty, at least because the matatu sector have brought the Kenyan's economy from far, 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 from 1960 up to where we are. Yeah, and don't forget it grew without any rules and regulations. Yeah, until 1985, that was officially capped up in the Traffic Act 403, so that it became accepted mode of transport. Yes, so it's something that we need really to have